Welcome back, everybody, to the second episode of FTR, Florida Trail Racers, where we talk about FloridaTrailRiders.org. That's the group I talked about in my opening segment, the group that I participate in that organizes the events through Florida, hare scrambles, enduros. I want to thank everybody for their feedback that I've had so far. Good stuff. I think I'm going to change the terminology that I have here. I originally called this a podcast, and technically I haven't distributed this in the true form that a podcast is distributed. I think I'm going to relabel this as a video cast because the feedback that I've had is, hey, include some pictures, include some video, and that's what I'm going to do moving forward. Still kind of growing this thing, still kind of vetting it out and seeing how this is going to turn out to be, but very, very excited about the opportunities, excited about supporting FTR, excited about sharing some information that people who don't visit the forums or who don't visit the Facebook page, if they can find out about this series. But today, I have two interviews lined up, and for my very first interview, I'm very excited to say that I have someone quite famous that's going to be participating. No, it's not Dungy. It's bigger than Dungy. Okay, no, it's not DeCoster. It's bigger than DeCoster. It's Pete Rose. Okay, everybody knows who Pete Rose is, right? Guy played baseball, professional baseball, Major League Baseball, which is bigger than Supercross. It's bigger than motocross. He played for the Cincinnati Reds. He's a Hall of Famer, but unfortunately he's not in the Hall of Fame because Pete kind of made a mistake. He got caught betting on sports, which is a big no-no. You can't do that. Now, even though was a great player, he accomplished a lot, and he should be in the Hall of Fame. Lapse in judgment has caused him to be banned for life out of Major League Baseball. So, what did Pete do after his baseball career? He got into dirt bikes. Okay, so we're going to talk to Pete about his decision to get into dirt bikes, how much he's enjoying it, what he wants to accomplish with it. Pete's getting up there in age, so he doesn't really ride dirt bikes as much anymore. He's turned into more of a quad guy. And yeah, I know. Yeah, quad is basically a couch, with a motor on it. So, but his knees can't handle it anymore. All those years of diving into home plate and, running into second, taking out the second baseman, all those things, that wears on you over time. So, he rode dirt bikes for a little bit. That kind of kicked his butt too. So now he's on the couch, quad, and he's still out there, which is great. I know we have put together a nice little walker for Pete because we don't know how many more days he's got left. Because in the past on a bike, you had to stand up, you had to work your whole body. Now he's just sitting and just kind of slides his butt one side or the other when the turns come up. So, but we do have a walker set up for him. It's painted KTM orange because he bleeds KTM orange. Even though he rode, a Kawasaki and Evo, he's still a KTM guy. So we've got a nice painted up walker. We've got KTM stickers on it. And actually we had the plan of having Roger DeCoster and Ryan Dungy signing it this year at the Daytona Supercross for him. But anyway, Granny Nanny's comes by a couple of times a week to check on him, make sure he's good. They help him to the bathroom, help him take his meds. Pete's got a fantastic wife, but she has to work, so she can't be there all the time. So Granny Nanny's comes in and pitches in and takes care of him during those times that she's not able to help him. But I really appreciate the fact that Pete gets out there. He's part of tech inspection, which we'll talk about in here in a little bit. He gets out there and cuts trail, and he's out there representing the membership. So kudos to Pete. Hang in there, buddy. You're doing a great job. As I mentioned in my first podcast, or video cast, Pete's the one who got me into racing, FTR, so he can't be all that bad, I guess. But talk about tech inspection. We have a Laurel and Hardy duet between Pete and Ron Thomas. I guess you couldn't ask for a better mix of people there for tech inspection because, these are the same guys that send you back to your pits because your number plate's wrong. They stuck a stick up your pipe, well, your exhaust pipe, You exhaust pipe people. That's what I'm talking about. And they said that your spark arrestor wasn't correct, so you have to go back and get that fixed. Or they send you back to the long sign-up line because your transponder is not working. So these guys are the ones responsible for that. But in all seriousness, it's an important task. Really appreciate the fact that they've stepped up to do this. They've kind of taken that burden off the clubs, even though it is the club responsibility. But Pete and Ron have stepped up to do tech inspection, have consistent people, consistent policy, and consistent response to discrepancies, again, to make it fair for everybody. So I'll be dialing up Pete here in just a second.
All right, everybody, the first interview for Florida Trail Racers. I got the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Pete Rose. Mr. Pete Rose, the famous baseball player. Yeah, he screwed up. He bet on baseball, but you know what? He's a dirt bike guy now, so that makes him good in everybody's opinion. Welcome to the first interview for FTR Racers. Pete, thanks for joining us.
You're welcome, Sean. Pleasure to be here, man.
Listen, you're the first interview. The reason you're the first interview because you know what? You're to blame for me to be a part of FTR. You're the one who got me involved. You busted my chops for a couple of years, and I finally got involved to the disgust, I guess, of some people in FTR and to the amusement of others. So it's your fault that I'm here. It's your fault that you're on this interview. But I really appreciate you. I really appreciate you stepping up and putting yourself out there. I know you had a tough time in your previous profession, and we're not really going to kind of delve into that today. But, you know, a clean slate, start anew, and it's quite impressive what you've done so far. So let me start out with this. When did you start riding dirt bikes?
Me and my brother, we were, raised in Vermont, in the country, so we had motorcycles, snowmobiles. I mean, I think we were 8 or 10 years old when we first got, little Honda CT70s, and, run those into the ground, and then moved up to a Suzuki 100, I think, and had an old Bull Taco and some Yamahas, and we just had, various things, until we broke them. Then my dad had to go, get something else for us to tear up.
So what age did you start riding?
I think it was 8 or 10.
Oh, so you started this before you started playing baseball. Okay, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I was a pretty bad baseball player when I was a little kid.
Well, you turned out to be pretty damn good as a pro, let me tell you. So let me ask you, when did you get involved with this whole FTR thing, this FloridaTrailRiders.org?
I heard about, FTR from a couple riding buddies when we would ride out in Northport in the early 90s, I think. And finally they talked me into doing a race. I think my first race was in 2003 or 2004. Race beginner class, and I don't even remember how I finished. It was pretty poor, out of shape. You're a weekend warrior. You think you can go out there and just kill it, and reality really sucks when you get, 2 miles in and you got arm pumps so bad you can't even hold on to the handlebars.
Well, heck, at least you made it 2 miles. I didn't make it that far in my race. Okay, you talked me into getting out there, and I don't think I got a quarter of a mile. Yeah, you and Ron Thomas, your buddy, the character Ron Thomas, had me practicing starts. I'd never even been to a FTR race, and I pulled a whole shot, and I crashed at the trees.
Yeah,
what?
Yeah, but
quarter of a mile in.
What did we tell you not to do?
You told me
not to get the whole shot, not to go out there and lead, just relax, go out there and ride.
Yeah.
But no. You couldn't do that, could you?
You've given me a lot of advice over the years, and I haven't listened to any of it, I don't think. But anyway,
I don't think so.
no. So you're a member of a couple of clubs, right? What clubs are you a member of?
Yep, I'm a member of Old School Dirt Riders in Sarasota, and also a member of SADRA, also out of Sarasota.
And did you join those clubs right when you started with FTR?
No, actually, I've been riding and, racing a while, and then finally you get to meet other people, and, and they, prompt you into going, hey, come to a club meeting, and get more involved. And, I was joined Old School first, and helped them with several races. And then, I've always known Randy and the guys with Sadra. So, I finally, joined that club also, just to be able to help them and, do some of the ride events and stuff that they put on for the club members.
So why join two clubs?
I just enjoy motorcycle riding, off-road riding, quad. I enjoy being out in the woods, cutting trail, working trail. It's relaxing for me, I got a desk job, so anytime I can get out on a quad or on a dirt bike and getting back to nature, it just relaxes me.
Yeah, I hear you the same way. Unfortunately, I don't get out as much as you do. But now, within FTR, you have an official position with them, right?
Yep. I'm Area 11 director. It's Charlotte County, Lee County, most of the counties down West Coast, Florida, South. And I'm also the quad rider rep for Hare Scramble Series. Okay.
So your area, does that cover both Sadra and Old School?
Actually, both of those clubs are in Sarasota County, so they're actually not in my area. That's Ron's. Ron Thomas has that area. I think that's Area 9.
Okay. So what do you do as an Area 11 director? I mean, what's your responsibility? What do you do for FTR?
Responsibilities are to help promote FTR, help any clubs that are putting on races in my area. I'll assist them with anything they may need. With Old School, I worked with Charlotte County to get all the permitting and everything with the sheriff's department and with the EMS, Public Works. I mean, there was quite a lengthy process to get the permit secured and everything prior to the race, and answer questions when new riders come to the area if they have questions about FTR. It's one of my responsibilities is to try to help them, get them in contact with clubs if they want to join a club or with riding areas. Just basically information service.
Well, let me ask you a question about this. Yeah, talk about new riders. Does Old School or Sadra do anything to go out and recruit new riders, or how does somebody find out about the clubs, and how do they get involved?
Sadra has a Facebook page, and most of the new members that both Sadra and Old School generate are just word of mouth. Either you're riding at Crooms or you're riding down at Florida Track and Trail, and somebody will, ask you about, what do the numbers on your bikes mean and stuff like that, and you just, strike up a conversation. And, and we've got, I've got some business cards with FTR Area 11 Director, my phone number, contact information. I'll hand those out, and just to try to generate interest, in the sport. But most of it is, there's no real promotion or anything like that, advertising or anything. It's generally just word of mouth.
Well, what's your thought, Pete? I mean, do you think Sadra, Old School, and the other clubs within FTR, do you think we're good where we are as far as a membership base, or do you think we should be going out and pursuing others?
I think that our membership is getting older, and we don't have the younger members. When the clubs are working trail and stuff, it's very, very few of the younger members participate. Preteens, will be out there helping because their parents, bring them there. But it seems like once, FTR riders, in their 16, 17, 18, early 20s, once they get driving and are chasing girls, they're not participating in the sport. They may be out there racing, but I don't see them being involved with any other of the activities, setting up the courses, helping with the clubs and the meetings and stuff like that.
Wow. Incredible.
I don't have an answer for it. But.
Well, that's an incredible observation that I've never even really considered. I never thought about, I don't know if the right term is millennials or what, but yeah, it makes perfect sense that the preteens are out there because they rely on mom and dad. They're forced to come out and catch the trail. You've got the established senior members that are out there cutting trail, but you got the guys, the fast guys, the young kids, showing up for the races but not pitching in. How do we change that?
I don't know. It's been brought up at multiple club meetings, and I really don't have an answer to it. I know. Another thing that's a little off topic, but I think we need to get the Pee-wee some more track time. It seems like we keep cutting their practices, cutting their racing and stuff. I mean, I personally feel that the Pee-wee track should be open all weekend for those riders to ride. You look back at Garrett and Ricky Skaggs and some of the real fast riders, the AA riders, when they were Pee-wee riders, that's all they did all weekend long was they rode the Pee-wee track. That's where they got their start. And our younger riders don't have that opportunity today.
Wow, excellent point. Wow. Excellent first interview because you brought up some points, Pete, that I haven't considered because I don't have a Pee-wee rider. I've talked about, the teenagers that can drive and how to get them involved. Robert D'Angelo, who is a Pee-wee advocate and a Pee-wee course advocate, I know he's made some presses out on the forums, but I think your point is very solid that you get the young guys hooked, and they'll stay hooked through the rest of their life, right?
That's right. I mean, yeah, they'll wear their parents out, to take them riding, and and that's something that that our youth needs. You look at the FTR events. It's families that are out there. It's the mom, the dad, the grandparents. I mean, in today's society, that's very rare, and we need to do everything we can to expand on that and make it more fun for the little ones, so the parents will want to bring them back.
Yeah, I agree. You see the memes all the time on Facebook, get your kids into dirt bike riding and they can afford to do drugs, right?
Right.
So
it's
So let me ask you your opinion. As far as the years you've been involved, have you seen the youth involvement stay stagnant, increase, or decrease? What do you think?
I've just been more involved with FTR, as being the area director and stuff like that in the past this is my second year as an area director, so I'm still new to it compared to a lot of the other members. I think I feel that the younger classes are decreasing, compared to, say, 10 years ago or so. I know, things are more expensive, and there's a lot of things out there to draw your discretionary income, away from, motorcycles. There's a lot of a lot of sports, a lot of, parents, get their kids focused just on one sport, because they want to be the next, Tom Brady or the next Pete Rose.
Right. Well, let's talk about this. Back in the day, when you and I rode, you come home from school, you get on your dirt bike after school, and you go out and ride.
Oh yeah.
Kids today can't do that, right?
No.
Kids today,
no. I mean,
there's nowhere to go ride. I mean, so you have to go to a croom, or you got to have some personal property. I mean, the days of going out and riding on the power lines are gone.
Right. Yeah, everything is a lot more restrictive. I mean, my brother and I and our friends, where we lived on dirt roads. I mean, we were up and down the roads. We were, we lived up in country. The closest neighbor was a mile away. There was all, dairy farms and pastures, and we just could go wherever we wanted. Everybody knew everybody. It was, I think back on it, and really we had a, great childhood where, kids today are so limited on what they can do. And, everybody's, watching them with a magnifying glass, one little mess up, and they're, taking stuff away and putting up restrictions. You can't do this, you can't do that. So it's totally different today.
Yeah, I remember not spending my lunch money so that I could come home from school. I had 55 cents for lunch money. I'd come home from school and I'd buy a gallon of gas and put it in my dirt bike and I'd go ride. Okay? And you can't do that today. So I think going back to your point about allowing the PUE course to be open through the weekend at FTR events, that's going to hook those kids. Giving them more time to ride. It gives the parents a good value as well. Exactly. They're paying entry fees, they're paying race fees, gate fees, and so on and so forth. But you give their kids an opportunity to ride through the weekend with supervision, naturally.
Of course, yeah, it's got to be a safe course. We can't have, and some properties it's just not doable. Where they just, they need that piece of property, to run one of the big courses on. But, I think that it needs to be more of a focus with FTR.
Right, I agree 100%, because if we don't have these young kids, when you and I finally get to where we can't ride, there's not going to be anybody out there. It's going to be nothing but old guy classes, and there's going to be no use out there. So I never considered it that way. It makes a valid point. Let's give these peewees an opportunity to ride all through the weekend, give their parents a good value for their dollar, and try to keep the peewee courses maybe separate from the big bike courses. And, the kids are going to be pressuring the parents, hey, let's go to the race this weekend. Let's go to the race this weekend. I want to go ride. Because their alternative is Croom or some other place where it's unsupervised. You got big bikes and little bikes mixed up. You're going to have them out on a motocross track. Some motocross tracks allow big bikes and little bikes at the same time, which is a separate discussion. But I think we could really grow the FTR base, for the future by catering to the peewees today. It's going to take years to reap the benefits of it, but in the long run, I think it's the right thing to do. I mean, you brought up a great point, something I hadn't considered. So, all right, let me ask you about club size. What size of club is old school, and what size of club is Sadra? I mean, how many members are there? Do you know?
I don't have the official numbers, but there was an old school meeting last night, and I think there was 20 people or so there at the meeting. You've got your core group, and then you've got people that come and go and stuff like that. Sadra is probably a little bit bigger than old school. Sometimes they'll have 30 or so members for a meeting. It all depends. Pre-race meetings are always larger because you get the people that don't normally attend meetings until there's a race coming up and stuff like that. But it's probably pretty much the same. I know like Suncoast is a fairly large club, DDR is a fairly large club, so they may have 30, 40, 50 members or something like that.
I think DDR is like over 200. But you know what? When it comes to
if they go to a meeting, how many people are at a meeting though?
Yeah, I know that's not near that, and also the reality that every club faces is the participation when it comes time to cut trail and do prep work, right? Yeah, everybody's struggling with that, right?
Yeah, you'll get a dozen people out there that really work. That's about it.
And I'm guilty of it. A member of DDR, I've kind of been inactive for about a year, and that's because life happens from time to time. But I respect, and I think most writers do, effort that these clubs put forth, because it is typically a small percentage of people that get out there and make it happen, right?
Yep. Yeah. It's a very small core group that normally, is out there cutting trail, and we've got members that spend half the night on loaders and equipment, rehabbing trail Saturday night after the quad race, for Sunday, and those are the guys that no one ever knows what's going on, and they're never thanked, they're never really don't think they're appreciated for the effort and time they put in, their own fuel, their own money they spend back and forth to the races, this society today, it's all about me. No one wants to accept responsibility. They just want to show up and have it their way. And,
they don't understand what
it takes to make that event happen. Yep.
Exactly. Yeah. I've heard some ideas thrown around on the forums from time to time that in order to race, you need to be a member of a club, and if you're a member of a club, you have to at least put X number of hours in. I see the pros and cons of that. I really like that requirement, but the risk of losing participants is kind of high too. I guess we need to find a way to instill upon people that, I'm reaping this benefit, so I need to contribute. Would you agree?
Yeah, in a perfect world, that would be nice, but I've been involved in this a long time, and I really hasn't seen it, and I don't think it will change. There's the diehard few that they're just that type of person that they're going to bust their butt and make the event happen, and then there's going to be that person that just shows up, and as soon as his race is over, he's packing his shit and leaving. He's not going to help pick up a piece of paper on the ground. That's just the way they are, and it's sad, but that's just the way they were brought up, I guess.
And it's kind of hurtful for those guys to go out and spend all that time out there, right? And not be appreciated. But I guess you have to have your own internal satisfaction for what you've done.
Yep. Have a good race, have a good turnout. Don't have injuries. That's one of our main goals. Make a safe course, and we just take pride in knowing that we did the best we could do.
I know personally I missed the Mayaka course. So, I haven't had a chance to ride your new events, but that Mayaka is sad. So what's your take on, these property owners? Are the property owners property owners pretty receptive to this, or is it really a hard sell to get a new piece of property?
It's a pretty hard sell. I mean, because you think at these property owners, if you have a property owner that's got 600,000, 1,500 acres, he's pretty established. He's well-to-do for himself, and for him to allow an unknown group to come into his property that his livelihood is based on, to go out there to make a trail to allow 700-800 motorcycle riders to race around on his property. I mean, if I was, if roles were reversed, I'd have a hard time allowing it to happen on my property. You got to have some faith, that that nothing's bad's going to happen, and we're a sue-happy society these days.
Yeah, unfortunately, you're right. All right, let's change into something that I perceive as could be a fun topic: tech inspection. All right, how did you and Ron?
Fun for who? Fun for who, Sean?
It's fun for everybody to listen. How did you and Ron Thomas get lassoed into doing tech inspection?
Randy Fall asked Ron if he would do tech inspection, and I kind of got volunteered by Ron to assist. So we were at the races anyways. We're wanting to do what we can to help FTR. Tech inspection has always been a little free, really not followed. The clubs, it's on race day for the clubs, they're strapped, to try to cover all the things they got to do, and tech inspection was something that they had to do, but they just would throw somebody at it, and it was a half-hearted effort. So we took it upon ourselves to be consistent, be fair, follow the rule book as it's written, and if there's anything in question, we get with Dan Aiken, we get with Randy Rash, we get with Randy Fall, and whatever they or we decide, some stuff we let slide, and there's other things that are pretty black and white, spark arresters, header wrap, those kind of things. Property owner demands that, that's got to be a steadfast rule.
Gotcha. So you're trying to help with consistency. You're taking that burden off the clubs because, like you said, they would just throw whoever at it. So let me ask you this. Greg Melka, okay, A-Rider, made a big deal about a freaking outline on a number plate. And I understand you kind of got put in the middle because I give you credit. You get on the forums and you respond to things and you address issues. Quite frankly, I wish more officials within FTR, this is Sean's opinion, okay, I wish more officials would be visible on the FTR forums and speak up. I understand the reluctance to do so, but I give you huge props for getting out there and exposing yourself. And now Greg got on a agenda, okay, about the whole outlines on the numbers and the number plates and so on and so forth, and you were forced at the time to take the hardline stance of what the rule book says is what the rule book says. And it went back and forth for, I don't know, maybe even weeks, okay? And then I think, one of the involved and made a decision, and I don't disagree with the decision, okay? And I know there's critics both ways, okay? So I commend you on, standing fast to the rules until a decision was made higher up to, make an adjustment. So how do you feel that whole process went, on the forums, that back and forth with everybody? It carried over to FTR Facebook page and so on and so forth. How do you feel that process went with people's involvement?
Everybody's entitled to their own opinion. That's why we live in this great country. Everybody has a right to state their opinion. I don't have to agree with everybody, and everybody doesn't have to agree with me. The way I interpret it, the way others interpret it, the number is to be one color. Well, you can't put an outline around a number and it still be one color. So that was the basis of my argument. Now, after, length of time that the issue didn't go away, it just kept getting, rehashed and rehashed and rehashed. I believe it was Rick Ash got involved and, made a decision with other board members that they would allow the outlines within reason, which, is kind of vague, but, to try to be fair for everybody, that's what they did. So it kind of went away.
Well, the whole purpose of the rule was to make it easier for scoring to make sure they scored everybody correctly, right?
Correct. And and the FTR went to a new scoring system a couple of years ago, and it didn't work as well as they thought it was going to. The older system, the transponders were a lot more robust. The newer system, there was a lot of transponder failures. So as part of the tech inspection process, we now have a computer with a scanner right there, and that's the main purpose of going through tech, is to make sure that your transponder is operating properly so that you can get scored properly. As backup, they do have backup scores that write down the number, the letter, the background color, in case there is a discrepancy in the electronic scoring.
And anybody who hasn't done backup scoring, they don't understand how difficult it can be sometimes to read a muddy number plate, right?
Yeah, I mean, you got mud on the front number plate. You've got the rider's legs and stuff like that are hanging over the side plates. Sometimes it's extremely difficult to determine. Is that white? Is that silver? Is that an A or a B? It's people just assume that the electronic scoring is always going to work, and that's not always the case. So your numbers have to be legible. If by chance a course worker is out in the woods and a rider is cutting the course, or going in the wrong direction or something, you got to be able to see those numbers from some distance to be able to try to make sure that you're either DQing the correct rider, not mistaking him for somebody else, and and creating hardship for somebody that that is following the rules.
Right. Do you know, Pete, if they're going to make a change to the rules to allow the outlines, or do you think it's just going to be left as it is?
James Hill from SADRA did propose a rule change to allow outlines, and that ended up in a fairly lengthy discussion with no outcome. It was, well, is it an eighth inch? Is it a quarter inch? Is it this color, that color? It just got ridiculous, and it ended up not even passing its first vote through the committee. So I mean, I think it's just going to be one of those things that just leave it alone the way it is until until it blows up again, I guess. I don't know. I don't have an answer for it.
So let me ask you this about spark arresters. Is that more directed, or I should say dictated by landowners, or is it an old, useless requirement? Where's the dictation?
No, it actually was started in the Enduro series. There was a fire at an Enduro that, I don't think anyone really knows the cause of the fire. Could have been caused by a backfire or, a non-spark arrestor. But the point of the story is that the Enduro director, the Enduro committee, was able to go to the U.S. Forestry Service or the St. John's Water Management District and say, okay, yes, we know there was a fire. Yes, we know we harmed your property. But in the future, we are going to put spark arresters on all of our motorcycles. And that allowed them to still have access to that property. So that's how it got written into the Enduro rulebook. And then it got expanded into the Hare Scramble rulebook. And I think, to ride at Crooms, you're mandated to have a spark arrestor. Any of the, Ocala National Forest, you need to have a spark arrestor. It's just a responsible thing. I don't know how, I don't have statistics on, how many fires are started by having it or not having it. But I think it's something that we can say is that we are responsible. We put spark arresters on our motorcycles when we race, and
that's kind of the mantra. That's kind of the mantra of FTR, right? Being a responsible motorcyclist.
Yeah.
Exactly. Does that carry forward to the header wraps as well? Is that more mandated by the property owners?
That is mandated by property owners. At DDR, I know their property owner. That's one of the stipulations. It has to be on the bikes.
Gotcha. So let me ask you this: what's been the craziest thing that you've had happen in tech inspection? What's the craziest thing you've seen in tech?
There's been some pretty interesting spark arrestor adaptations to motorcycles. Window screen held in place with a hose clamp, or a zip tie. Header wrap that's just kind of, loosely wrapped in place that's not going to last 50 feet down the trail. No number plates, no numbers, no backgrounds. It's one of the most comical things is people showing up with no helmets. Their transponders are in their helmets. And it's like, oh, we need it again. It's like, yeah, every time.
Let me ask you your opinion on this. Pros that don't race our series on a regular basis, or you got a Jason Raines who's in for a Yamaha ride day or whatever the case, and those guys participated. Do you really see any of the issue, or do you see the need to force those guys to adhere to the strict letter of our rules to allow them to participate?
I don't think they should be exempt from our rules just because they're a pro. They have to follow the speed limit when they're driving to and from the event, so they should have to have a spark arrestor. They should have to have the proper numbers and stuff on their bikes. It doesn't have to be, a $300 graphics kit. A little bit of duct tape. You can make some nice looking backgrounds. Most of those guys have spark arresters or have the availability to get spark arresters from their sponsors and stuff like that. I think that's a little bit of a lame excuse to let those guys slide through. They should have to follow at least those basic rules.
So the guys that are come down here during the winter and ride our events, they should accommodate. They should accommodate our rules, right?
Right. I mean, there's we give the first-time rider, we're going to give them a pass on the spark arrestor. That's pretty much an unwritten rule. But if you're doing more than one event, you need to have a spark arrestor.
And you got to have your number plates right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would agree.
Yeah.
Okay. Change the topic. Hot topic right now on the FTR forums is the Apollo reschedule. For those who don't know, the Apollo race, again, all of our races are 2-day events, and the second day got rained out. So Apollo is doing everything they can, pulling a lot of volunteers together to put on an event to run the second day. And the question came up is that, well, I race Sportsman, on Saturday, and now it's been several months later, and we're having to reschedule for Sunday. Can I race my age class? Now, the rules state that if you ride Sportsman, you can't ride Sunday, and there was different reasons for that. They didn't want people to have an advantage of having pre-ridden some portion of the course on Saturday to be able to be more competitive or have an advantage on Sunday. But with this event, Sunday was canceled, and it's been several months, and some guys have asked about, hey, I rode Sportsman on Saturday. We got rained out on Sunday. And several months later, the course is completely different. Can I ride age group? And I've seen responses go both ways. Seems like the general consensus is that, yeah, it's a totally different event. It's a totally different course. Why not? And others, Troy Weeks, have taken to the black and white of the rules that says you can't do that. Do you have an opinion on that, Pete?
Yeah, it's probably not going to be very popular, but the event, the Saturday and Sunday are going to be scored as one event, not two separate events. So there is a possibility for a rider that chose to ride Sportsman at the first Samsula date for some unknown reason. Now we've had a couple cancellations of other races and stuff, postponements and stuff. Now he can race Sunday and possibly get more points or get points that he wouldn't have had normally, in a Sunday class. I really don't think that's fair. Now, I also see the point that, it's a different event, a different time, different course, stuff like that. Pre-riding the course to get an advantage is really a lame excuse. You can race the quad, you can race Evo, to get pre-knowledge of the course. So that's, I don't think that, that's a good one to use. But there is a possibility that you could get additional points on somebody, in this situation.
Well, let me ask you this, Pete. Anybody who's racing Sportsman on Saturday, they're probably not really competing for the points, are they?
It could be. It's it all depends. Everybody's situation is different. Normally, if someone's racing Sportsman, no, they're not in it for the points. They're not competing for a Sunday class, but there could be other people that are in a points chase, and by that person coming into that wouldn't normally could change an outcome.
Yeah, but just go out there and beat him, right?
Yeah.
You could just go out there.
Like I said, my opinion wouldn't be popular. I'm just saying that the rule book states one thing, so you kind of got to go by that.
Well, one of the arguments is that the rule book is one thing, but we're all weekend warriors. This really doesn't affect the AA or pro class. We don't have money that we're giving out. So does it really matter? Does it really matter that a guy is riding Sunday, which actually benefits the club, okay, because they get more revenue because they have to go through a lot of time and effort to put on a one-day event. Porta potties, ambulances, etc.
Oh yeah.
What's wrong?
Yeah, it's a lot of money.
Let those guys ride.
No, I like I said, it's a very gray area, But you asked me my opinion, and that's my opinion, is that I don't think by letting them ride that that follows the rules.
That's fair. That's fair. Everyone's got an opinion. That's what this is all about. All right. In your view, looking at Facebook, looking at FTR forums, is there someone that stands out as a polarizing character out there that has more influence or more pull based on their participation out there than anybody else?
It's a good question. I hadn't really thought about that.
Troy Stainbrook. He posts a lot.
Right.
He's got a solid reputation out there.
Mm-hmm.
You've got
Mike Belt, who is very active on the FTR site. Mike is a great guy. Great competitor. His son Jonathan was AA rider. Does a lot for FTR and Suncoast and stuff. He's very. Mike's one of those people, either you love him or you hate him. I think he helps FTR a lot. There's a lot of Still Bill, as funny and quirky as he is, I think that he promotes FTR fairly well. I think you got to give credit to Amanda Richardson for being the vice president of FTR, being that, she's in her early 20s, I think. That's, very few of our young people are that involved with FTR, which we need more people like her.
I agree with you, Mike. Mike's very participative and on the forums. Doesn't do too much on Facebook. And believe me, I've had my run-ins with Mike plenty of times. We agree to disagree from time to time. When we agree, great. Mike is very opinionated, and if you agree with it, you're with him, and if you disagree with it, you're all against him. Still Bill, he's a character. But I do believe Bill has the best interest of FTR at heart. The only thing talking about Amanda, I appreciate the fact she's so young and she has such a position with FTR, but I don't hear from her. Maybe she's more vocal out at the events and stuff like that, but I'd like to hear from her. I'd like to hear her opinions. I'd like to hear her take on stuff. The Randys, they participate from time to time with the FTRs on the forum, but I'd like to see them participate more. I understand the reluctance to do so.
Yeah, it's as soon as you get on the forum, you're getting bashed by there's a select few on there, that no matter the sky is blue, no, it's brown. The water is red, no, it's blue. No matter what you put on there, there's going to be somebody that's bashing you, and it just gets to a point where you just don't want to post anything because all you're going to get is grief about it.
I agree. But I tell you, when the Randys get out there and they post something, it has a lot of significance to it. It really does. Mm-hmm. Whether you agree with it or disagree with it, it has a lot of meaning, has a lot of impact, it has a lot of clout. I think all of us who've been on the forums, they see the love-hate relationship between Matt Otway and Mike Bell. And sometimes it's good, and Matt, if you're listening to this, dude, you go too far, you become tiresome. You lose your argument at some point because you get kind of silly. And I know I've been guilty of that myself, but, I like to see the dialogue. I like to see the back and forth. But when it goes too far, it goes too far. And I know Brooks has stepped in as a moderator now on the FTR forums. And overall, I'd give him a good grade on doing a pretty good job on moderating that stuff. I know he stepped in between myself and Tom Clancy. Tom and I have a love-hate relationship. And I know he was IMing me, so I know he must have been IMing Tom as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I really want to get Tom on here and interview him at some point because I'd like to kind of clear the air. But it's good and it's bad because it's good that we're working through things, but it's bad because you get a lot of guests on the FTR forums that read our dirty laundry from time to time. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, the problem is that, you have to remember whatever you put out there for eternity, and, some of the stuff that people post, it makes FTR look bad. It makes them look bad. You have to sit back and read what you're typing and, really think about, do I really want to type this, post this, there's many a time where, I'll have something typed out and I'll delete it and I'll type it again and I'll delete it again because, does it serve a purpose? Is it informative? Is it going to helpful, or is it hurtful? Sometimes you're better off just not saying anything at all and just letting it go.
Exactly. I mean, I saw that post on the Apollo thread from Troy that he had typed something a couple of times and had deleted it and said, I'm just not going to say anything. And
yep.
So the recommendation is don't drink and post on the forums because you may regret
that is rule number one. Yes.
Right?
There should be a safety feature on all keyboards that after 3 beers it just locks up. It won't work anymore. It's just all stars or something come out.
Yeah, it's just like a breathalyzer for a car, right? You got to blow into it before you hit post, right? Because sometimes later you look back at it and you're like, holy crap, dude, I was stupid when I posted that, and I'm the first one to admit I'm guilty of it. So, yeah, it happens to all of us from time to time. But, anyway, Pete, I sincerely thank you for your time. Anything that any hot topic that you'd like to cover before we conclude?
No, just need to get your lazy butt back out there, man.
Yeah, I know. Life's kind of got in the way here a little bit. And, well, I started out the season pretty decent, and I actually felt pretty good. I actually got off the couch and was actually doing a little bit of cardio. And, but, things pop up. It happens to all of us.
I understand. But you don't have to go out there and win. That's your problem. You just got to go out there and just ride and have fun, hang out, and just get away from life. I mean, that's what it's about. It's getting out in the woods. It's being with your motorcycle buddies. Just smelling that 2-stroke, smell, and just letting work and life just kind of, go away for a couple hours, man.
I agree. I've had several guys IM me and say, hey, come out and ride Sportsman. It's no pressure, no nothing. And I do miss being out with everybody, and I'll be back out soon because I do have a lot of friends in FTR. You and Ron and James Hill Jr. and even Robert. It's crazy as he is.
Mm-hmm.
But, a lot of – it's so different for me. Yeah, I raced, some motocross back in the day, when I was young, back in the early 80s, and the atmosphere from FTR versus that is quite different. You'll have a competitor do whatever he has to do to help you race rather than throw up roadblocks to keep you from competing. A lot of good people, it's a great organization. Great.
It is.
Yep. I thank you very much for bringing me in, and I know some people, want to curse you for bringing me in. But
hey, it's that's what makes FTR great. You've got a diverse group of people. If everybody was the same, it would be boring. You got to have your clowns, you got to have your straight guy, you got to have the in-between guy, you got the rule follower guy, and you got to have the guy that's, trying to skirt the rules. That's just what makes it fun,
I agree. All right, Pete. Well, listen, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. Taking time from working out on your quad. I heard you got a new seat cover or something like that, right? It's more comfortable and it's a little bit wider. But anyway.
Yeah, I got a couple cup holders on there too now, so you have my beer and my coffee when I'm just out there riding the quad. It's really not it's really not racing. We're just kind of sitting on the sofa, like you say.
Yeah, and I know I'm going to get a whole bunch of grief when this gets posted, from the quad guys, but it's all in jest. It's all in fun.
It is. I mean, actually, that racing the quad, it was a real eye opener for me because I went from racing bikes, and then injured my knee, so I kind of said, well, let me try quad. I can sit down a little bit more. And man, first couple of quad races, I never hurt so bad in my life. I mean, it just beats you up. It's you're wrestling that thing the whole frickin' time. It's really harder than racing a bike. I'm serious. I'll put you on it. I'll put you on it, and we'll see how good you do there.
Bed sores are a terrible thing. I mean, that's the reason they have training.
Yeah.
They
They
come and treat those bed sores and they doll them all up for you. But,
Okay.
No, this is not an attempt to trash quad riders because, like I said earlier, we all have a common goal, and that's to be able to go out and ride and have a good time. But there's always going to be that little bit of rift between a quad rider and a bike rider. And,
See, I'm in a bad spot because the bike guys don't like me because I ride quad now, and the quad guys think that I'm still a bike guy. So I'm kind of like on the island all by myself.
Yeah, because you're out there riding enduros on a bike, right?
Yeah. Doing some enduro since there's no hair scrambles. So
it's no different between a 4-stroke and a 2-stroke. Right. So we have our own division with us bike guys. Yep. 4 strokes, 2 strokes, are it. If you don't ride a 2-stroke, you're not riding a bike. So
yeah.
All right, Pete. Thank you so much, my friend. And
Sean.
keep up the good work and what you're doing, and just continue to support FTR and make this organization as good as it can be. And
we'll try, man.
Look forward. We'll have a follow-up at some other time. And I'm sure there'll be some hot topics that I'll bring you on, and we'll talk about. And you and I have a different opinion again, I'm sure.
I'm sure, man. Sounds good, Sean.
All right. Thank you, Pete.
Okay.
Well, that was a good interview with Pete. Thank you, Pete, for being a good sport. For those that don't know, that is not the real Pete Rose that played for Cincinnati Reds and the Philadelphia Phillies. Though he does get asked about that all the time, does get teased about it, so we kind of played along. Robert D'Angelo was supposed to be my second interview. He has cold feet, I guess. He backed out. I think he's still drying out from his swim at the Alligator Enduro. So maybe Robert would get a chance to get on here a little bit later. He's pretty outspoken about the Pee-wees, the Pee-wee course. So give him a chance to speak his piece here with the FTR group. Have a nice interview lined up for next week. I'm not going to spill the beans who it is, but I think you'll enjoy it. So thanks, everyone, for listening in. Continue to give me your feedback on the FTR forums or on Facebook as we kind of grow this thing and make it entertaining and useful for everybody. I'm having a good time with this, and we'll make it more fun in the future. Thanks. See you next time.